Imagine a time before the pyramids rose against the desert sky, a time when unimaginable wealth and status were already being buried beneath the sands of Egypt. Long before the mighty pharaohs carved their names into history, there existed a people whose tombs tell a story of ambition, belief, and the dawn of civilization itself. The Gerzean tombs, relics from a forgotten era, known to archaeologists as the Naqada II period, hold the secrets of Egypt's earliest elite. These were the ancestors of kings, visionaries of ritual, and the architects of an idea that would later define Egypt, the immortality of power. Forget everything you thought you knew about ancient Egyptian burials. The Gerzean tombs predate the age of the pharaohs by centuries, yet they reveal a level of sophistication and wealth that challenges the very notion of primitive beginnings. In these early graves, we see the birth of social hierarchy, artistry, and spiritual depth, the very foundations upon which Egypt's great dynasties would rise. Prepare to witness opulence before the pyramids, and join us on this journey into the ancient sands where the first elite of Egypt lay entombed. Have you ever wondered what life was like for Egypt's earliest rulers, the ones who came before the pharaohs, before even hieroglyphs existed? Step with us into the world of the Gerzean tombs, where every artifact whispers of a forgotten nobility. This isn't just about archaeology. It's about rediscovering the origins of civilization itself, a story buried for over 5,000 years, the dawn before the pharaohs. The Gerzean culture, also known as the Naqada II period, flourished between roughly 3,500 and 3,200 BCE, long before Egypt was unified under a single ruler. This was a time of transition, when scattered agricultural communities along the Nile began to organize into complex societies. At sites like Gerzean, Naqada, and Abydos, we find the first signs of social stratification. Some people were clearly more important than others, and their tombs tell us so. Unlike the simple graves of the earlier Bedarian culture, Gerzean tombs show a leap in sophistication. They were no longer mere burial pits, they were crafted resting places, symbolic houses for eternity. These people believed that death was not an end, but a continuation of life in another realm. And just as in life, status mattered in death. The more powerful you were, the richer your tomb. This period marks Egypt's first experiment with hierarchy. It was here that craftsmanship, trade, and religious belief began to intertwine. The Gerzean elite controlled resources, commissioned artisans, and commanded respect even in death. Their tombs, built of mud brick and timber, sometimes plastered and painted, were physical declarations of authority. Silent palaces beneath the desert, architecture of power in the earliest periods of Egyptian prehistory. People were buried in simple oval pits, often crouched in fetal position, surrounded by minimal goods. But the Gerzean tombs break this simplicity. Here, archaeologists found double-chambered graves, some even lined with wooden beams, imitating the structure of a house. These were not crude holes in the earth. They were deliberate constructions, meant to endure time and mirror the comforts of life. Each tomb tells of a deepening belief in the afterlife. The presence of furniture, vessels, and ornaments reflects a conviction that the dead would live on, and therefore required possessions for their next existence. In this belief, we can already see the seed of Egypt's later obsession with eternity, the same ideology that would eventually build pyramids. The craftsmanship of these tombs also speaks volumes about social organization. Creating multi-roomed graves, complete with plastering and construction materials, required skilled labor and coordination, proof that by the Gerzean period, Egypt already had specialists, builders, and a clear division of labor. Power was no longer a communal concept, it was concentrated. The elite had the means to command resources and shape monuments to their own memory. The wealth of the dead. When these tombs were excavated, archaeologists found objects so refined that they seemed almost anachronistic for their time. Finely made pottery with geometric and animal motifs, beautifully carved stone vessels, cosmetic palettes shaped like fish or shields, all reveal the artistic evolution of the Gerzean era. But among these treasures, one discovery stands above all: beads made of meteoritic iron. These are among the oldest iron objects ever found on Earth, dating to over 5,000 years ago. The very stars had fallen to Earth, and the Gerzean elite had turned them into jewelry. These celestial beads symbolize power, rarity, and divine connection. To wear iron from the heavens was to claim a link with the gods themselves. It's hard not to imagine the awe such items inspired among the living, as the deceased elite carried their starlit ornaments into eternity. Beyond that, imported materials like lapis lazuli from Afghanistan and silver from Anatolia show that even at this early stage, Egypt was not isolated. The Gerzean elite were already part of a global network of trade and exchange. The presence of these goods tells us that wealth in this period was not just about accumulation, it was about prestige. The further an item had to travel to reach the Nile, the more powerful its owner appeared. Rituals and beliefs of the tombs, what drove this lavishness? At its heart was belief, the conviction that life continued after death, and that proper ritual ensured the soul's journey. The Gerzean tombs are among the earliest testaments to this ideology. Figurines, amulets, and symbolic animals accompany the deceased, serving as protectors or guides in the afterlife. Pottery from this period often features stylized imagery, boats with rows of human figures, dancing scenes, and animals like bulls and ostriches. These are not random decorations. Many scholars believe they depict ritual processions or symbolic journeys, possibly the passage from life to the realm beyond. The motif of the boat, in particular, would later evolve into one of Egypt's most enduring religious symbols, the solar bark that carries the sun god Ra across the heavens. One extraordinary detail is that some Gerzean figurines depict bearded men wearing crowns or distinctive hairstyles, early visual hints of authority. These could represent proto-kings or clan leaders, figures of divine status, even before the concept of pharaoh existed. The tombs, therefore, are not merely graves but stages of belief, places where power, religion, and identity converged. The rise of the elite by comparing the size, design, and contents of Gerzean graves. Archaeologists can clearly see a society divided by wealth and power. One tomb even showed signs of ritual decapitation, hinting at complex, perhaps violent rites associated with death and power. Each grave was a microcosm of belief, a silent echo of status, faith, and ambition. Trade, technology, and the expanding world. The Gerzean period was not just a cultural transformation, it was an economic one. Trade networks reached astonishing distances for their time. From the mountains of Afghanistan came lapis lazuli. From Mesopotamia came silver and ideas. From Nubia, gold and ivory. Egypt was slowly weaving itself into the fabric of the ancient world. The Gerzean elite lived in a world still forming its identity, yet they imagined eternity. They believed that life and power could transcend death, and in doing so, they created the philosophical foundation of one of history's most magnificent civilizations. The pyramids may have captured the world's attention, but the Gerzean tombs capture its origin, the moment when humanity first dared to imagine forever. So next time you picture ancient Egypt, don't just think of golden masks and towering monuments. Think of Gerzean, a quiet place along the Nile, where starlit beads, silent pottery, and ancient bones tell the first chapter of a story that would echo through time. The Gerzean tombs remind us that even in death, greatness can begin. SEO keywords embedded naturally. Gerzean tombs, Naqada II culture, Predynastic Egypt, Gerzean elite, ancient Egyptian burials, early Egyptian civilization, meteoritic iron beads, Gerzean cemetery, origins of Egyptian kingship, ancient Egyptian afterlife.